Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Breadwinner. So this is a movie that has been on my radar for quite a long time, because of you guys, actually. You guys had suggested it to me a while back, like a long while back, and I just never got around to it. And then when I started doing this and all, it's like just surprisingly enough, no one ever chose it. No one ever chose to have it as a donation reward until now. Venom0027 has requested this one, and yeah, I'm thankful. I am definitely thankful for that. Um, so I do know a couple things about this film. I know it stars Middle Eastern characters, and that the main character is, if I'm not mistaken, a young girl who pretends to be a boy in order to help her family, I think. Um, which, if you know anything, even the littlest bit about Middle Eastern culture, you'll know that that's dangerous to do. Because in a lot of Middle Eastern culture, even currently, even though it's gotten a lot better in the recent years, but women are often viewed as lesser. They're often viewed as lesser, and just they aren't given as many opportunities, as many rights, as many, like, anything really. And them trying to be or pretend to be a male like that would be, in their eyes, unacceptable. And they're also not that great towards LGBTQ plus people, so there's that as well in regards to, yeah, trans people. But yeah, it's just, it's something that I feel isn't going to be portrayed to the level of harshness and intensity and frightfulness as it should. But I don't know. I mean, I might be proven wrong. I don't really know anything else about this film. Like, I don't know what to expect going in, but it might end up surprising me. And here's the thing. Like, I don't consider myself an expert on the way the Middle East is run. So I won't, like, recognize any little thing or whatnot, but even if I did, it's like it's not necessarily that big of a deal. As long as the story and characters and all that are still good, as long as it's still entertaining enough, like, that's what's gonna matter to me here, more so than real life accuracy. Um, because it's an animated movie. That kind of stuff isn't important here. um, but yeah, I don't know exactly what to expect or anything. I don't even know what language this is in. You know, I don't know if this is in English or if it's, Middle Eastern language or something else or whatnot. I don't know. I have no idea, like, at all. But I am interested to see and find out, and, well, find out what the movie's like. So we're going to do so. And a thanks again to Venom0027 for donating for this. So let's get going and see what it has in store. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow a link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, if there's any word I would use to describe this movie, it would be engaging. From start to finish, the Breadwinner engaged me. I was invested in these characters and their stories and their literal stories. And as I said multiple times now, I am no expert on this kind of stuff. I don't know all the details surrounding Taliban law and just in general Middle Eastern culture. I only know what I've heard, what I've been told, what I've occasionally read about. So I don't know all the ins and outs, and I can't be expected to understand every little detail that was shown in here. But there are certain things I do know, like the entire thing about women being treated as second class citizens. That's something that I think mostly everyone knows about the Middle East. Um, it's just it's very commonly known that throughout history that in the Middle East women have been treated as second class. They've been seen as lesser. And during a lot of time they've been like this where they've had to like cover themselves when they go out and they can only go out with a male member of their family and stuff. And only just very recently in history, and I believe in only one country, though I might be mistaken about that. But in some country, just recently, like within the past few years, have women even been allowed to drive? Like that's only just recent, and it's like it's really fucked up. And this movie came out in 2017, so I don't know how things were exactly at that point specifically. Um, Especially considering this had probably been being made for a couple years before that as well. So you have to take that into account. And despite not knowing too much about all of that, all about the culture and shit, I don't think you need to understand this film. It's like knowing the bare basics about it is enough. And honestly, the movie does well enough to make you understand what's going on. Again, I might not have gotten every little in and out of the culture and the laws and shit, but I got the gist of it, and I knew I could follow along well enough. Um, so our main character is this young girl who has to pretend to be a boy to basically become the breadwinner of her family after her father is arrested. And again, that's I knew the part about ahead of time about the girl having to pretend to be a boy to help the family. I mentioned that in the pre-thoughts. That is what I knew about it. I didn't know the details. I didn't know the father was imprisoned. I didn't know that she was going to try to rescue him, obviously, like, because I didn't know he was in prison in the first place. um, and I'm glad that I only had like the most bare basic knowledge about this movie, because this is definitely a film that needs to be experienced. It's heavy. It's very intense, very heavy, very harsh. It doesn't pull punches. And yes, in the end, there is a happy ending, but throughout the film, and especially in that last act, it gets really heavy and it really scares you. Like when you see when you see her outside the prison, like shaking in fear, her voice just quivering, and as she's continuing the story, and it's like getting really intense in the story. There's all the shaking and the thunder and shit, and it's like you feel that at that point, even without that story. Like that's what you're feeling at that point in the movie. It was so well done to place that there because of that. It was literally a visual and auditory representation of what the viewer, at least what I was going through just at that moment, what I was watching. It was harrowing. It was just really shaking and frightening. And everything that looked like it could go wrong seemed to be going wrong. The, the girl's family being taken away um, earlier than expected because of this oncoming war. Um, the cousin not being at the prison because he had been sent off to war and everything, and then the confrontation with the one guard at the end with Razak. And it's like everything that seemed to be going wrong was, and it was just this really intense, frightening moment that really just it was bothering me. I was scared. I was afraid to see what was going to happen. And there were points where I was honestly thinking, what if they don't end this nice? What if this doesn't have a happy ending? What if something really bad happens? And that's the point. Like there was a point there, like especially when she was outside the prison, I was actually expecting bombs to be dropped on the prison and her to die right there. And I hate that I was thinking that, but honestly, that's kind of what it came across like to me. That's how intense it was. That's how scary it was. And honestly, the film had been going on in a way to where it wouldn't have surprised me. But this film did something other elsewise that kind of goes into that, but also it's kind of like both equal and opposite to that because it this is let's put it this way, this is an important film for how we view Middle Eastern culture. There are so many people in America and all over the world, but especially here in America, who are absolutely horrible and evil and just psychotically terrible towards Middle Eastern people just because they're Middle Eastern. They're racist and xenophobic and horrible. And there's still so many of those people, even though a lot of us have become more progressive and a lot of us have broken away from that kind of false ideology and false equivalencies and stuff. A lot of people in this country are still like that. Too many people are still like that. And so many people who have been in charge have even emboldened that. And it's horrible. it's like these are people. These are human beings, and this movie shows that they are just as deserving of love, respect, care. That even though their culture is different, and even though things have just people have looked down on them for so long, that doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean that they're inherently bad people, even with cultural norms and stuff that aren't good. Like, again, the way they treat women and their views towards the LGBTQ plus community. As a whole, a lot of these people are just victims, just raised in this against their will. It's not really their choice. And there are a lot of people like this who, like I mentioned in the reaction, who are probably very much against those kind of things, who are very progressive considered. And a lot of them, unfortunately, are probably punished for that progressiveness. This movie helps do what needs to be done to help make these people, the real life people, be seen as, honestly, to a lot of people, as human. And I'll be honest, I used to be in that camp. I've talked about it plenty of times. I used to be really fucked up in a lot of ways. I was extremely terrible. I was transphobic, ironically enough. I was very, very bigoted towards the LGBTQ plus community. And there's even points where I showed racism and xenophobia and shit like this. It's because of how I was raised and who raised me. But I have broken out of that. I've been able to push out of that conditioning and have become better for it. And I'm still working on it. I mean, I still have a lot of issues with that, but still, I'm working on it. I'm working every day to make sure that I don't revert back to how I used to be, even just a little. I never want to be that person again. And so I'm glad for movies like this. I'm glad that we can have heroes, Middle Eastern heroes we can cheer for. I'm glad for characters like Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, for the same reasons. And I want to see more of them. I want to see more Middle Eastern main characters in superhero comics, in anime, in um, just movies in general and stuff. And we've gotten more representation over the years. If you haven't seen The Great Pretender, it's a great anime on Netflix, really fantastic anime. One of the main characters in that is a Middle Eastern girl, and she's badass. She's awesome. She's my favorite character in the anime. Again, it's called Great Pretender. It's on Netflix. It's amazing. Please check it out. But yeah, she's amazing, and it's like she's a Middle Eastern character, and they don't shy away from that. Her character actually has a relevant story to that, a relevant backstory involved in that. So yeah, our main character here, I really liked her. I liked her determination to do what she could for her family, whether it be just becoming the breadwinner or trying to save her father from the prison. She showed great bravery, determination, and humanity, despite her fear, because it's, as I basically have always said and have heard through multiple sources and stuff, like, courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing despite that fear. Like, you can be afraid and still be courageous and brave, and that's shown here. She was utterly terrified, especially in the end. But her courage held through and she succeeded in saving her father. With help, mind you, of course. But everybody needs a little help every now and again. And she helped him first. She helped him find out what happened to his wife. And so he helped her in return, even when he found out she was a girl. Because he appreciated what she did for him. And that's great. The mother, like, I really felt for her. Like, she was just like her daughter at first. She was brave, she was determined, but then she got beat so heavily by the one guy, and it's like it broke her spirit. It just completely broke her spirit. And it was that is probably one of the hardest scenes to watch in this film by far. Seeing her spirit so heavily broken, seeing her so emotionally and mentally destroyed by that. Like, she was so determined to get her husband back, and then after that happened, she gave up and she was willing to marry off her daughter, her oldest daughter, just to be able to survive. She had lost hope that they would ever have her husband back again. And that's horrible. But this is probably the kind of stuff that happens, unfortunately. And it's really fucked up. The sister, as I mentioned, she's the only one I really didn't get a good grasp on because at times she was very caring, very, like, very emotionally connected to her sister and everything. But then there were also times where they were fighting, like, and it seemed like the older sister was extremely controlling and forcing her younger sister to do everything and very mean spirited towards her. And it's just like, that doesn't seem okay. So it's like I was kind of conflicted on her character. It seemed almost like two different characters at times, and it's like it's more than just like, oh, the siblings fight every now and again. No, no, there was definitely something more to that, and it's just, again, maybe it has something to do with Middle Eastern culture that I don't know about. I fully own up to that possibility that I just don't understand, but it's like I didn't get it. um, the father, he wasn't in a lot of the movie. Like, from what we saw, he was a very nice guy, very progressive, as I mentioned at that early point in the movie when they were arguing with the guy who was with Razak. I don't remember his name, if his name was even mentioned. But the guy, the asshole who ended up chasing the girls at near the end, um, in the second act, you would say. But yeah, it's like he was very much a lot more progressive and a lot more just forward thinking towards women and towards his daughter and everything, and willing to get into a fight and an argument about it and everything. And so, unfortunately, that is exactly what led to his arrest, but still. Um, the young son was fucking adorable. Zaki, I think his name was. Like, he was fucking just cute as hell. Like, I've always loved kids. Like, I love to work with kids, as you guys know. It's like it kind of be one of my only dream jobs, basically. You could put it like that, being a childcare worker, because kids are just amazing. They're so pure and so simple. They're not blinded by what the world can be yet. And having worked with kids in like churches and stuff, like they can be so smart, but they're also just they don't hold anything back. They're super honest, they're super energetic, and they're just really pure and innocent and wonderful. And it's awesome. It's a dream of mine as well to be a mother someday, to be able to raise a child and just love a child. And that would be amazing. So it's like when I see like adorable children like this, it's like really just heartwarming, you know? It's just like you just instantly want to protect them. It's and again, as I said in the reaction, it's like this kid, it's like that was a very realistic portrayal of it, like this toddler aged character, this toddler aged kid. It's like again, I've been around them working at the churches and stuff, in the like VBS and the child, the children's group. I forgot what it's called at the moment, but yeah, it's like I've been around toddlers. I've even done a little bit of daycare work for one of my churches where I had to watch over younger kids like that, especially. And it's like they can be exactly like that, babbling almost incoherently. Um, they will stick to one certain thing they hear someone say and just keep repeating it. They'll like run around. They're very moody. It's like that was such a perfect portrayal, and it's like oh, it's wonderful to see that because in so many animations you see like even toddlers are portrayed to be a little too smart. Like anime does it a lot, but there's a lot of I'm not even talking about the like movies or shows where it's like yeah of course that's the point, like they're too smart, they're like genius level intelligence or something. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not even talking about something like Rugrats where it's like it's the joke that it's like okay you're seeing kind of what they're thinking, you're kind of seeing into a child's mind and stuff, and it's different. But I'm talking like when it's supposed to be an actual child like toddler age character and they're just portrayed as having a little too much awareness and a little too much inte- intelligence for their age without that like kind of being the joke or the point of what the movie or show or whatever's about. um and then there was um the friend. Again, I can't remember these names. I really apologize. um I can't remember. I think her birth name was Shasi or something like that, but I can't remember the boy name she was going for. Um, but she was wonderful. Like she had this kind of rambunctious, not really troublemaking, but mischievous spirit to her. Like she was very much one of those types of characters who's like not necessarily pulling tricks, but is like very resourceful and very willing to do whatever she can to butter people up to get more money or to just try and get in good standing. She's very sly and slick like that. And I really like that. She's really wonderful. But you also got to see the more vulnerable side to her, especially the last scene we see with her, where she actually gets really upset when she finds out that our main character is going to be leaving because that's literally her dream to leave, to get away and to get to the sea. That is her dream. So to find out that her only real friend who she's become really close to is the one who's now leaving and without her, she gets upset. But they make up pretty quickly as they actually get to talk about it, and she accepts it and she is okay with it, and they even make a plan to meet up again 20 years in the future. I don't know why specifically 20, but that's what they went with. And it was a really, really nice ending to that plot point. I just kind of wish there was something else. Like they didn't need to actually show like that meeting 20 years later or anything. That would have been awesome, but they didn't need to. But I just wish they would have there would have been at least one more scene, like maybe of her finding out that our main character wasn't leaving or something anymore. I don't know. But then again, to be fair, by the end, like our main character didn't even know that because she was still heading home with her father, the mother, daughter, and the toddler, the baby boy were still heading home after everything. And by the way, the mother, when she got her courage back up at the end, like holy shit, she got badass. Like that moment when she stood up to the guy, who I guess was like from her cousin's side of the family or something. It never really explained exactly who he was, but yeah, it's just like it's really kind of wild because it's like she stood up to him like so heavily, so insanely badass in such a badass way. I loved it. Um, I really like the visual style, like between the more like paper art, almost stop motion style of the story that was being told, the story of the boy and the Elephant King. Just the actual style of the movie itself, the like the main story and everything happening on was really good. It really fit the tone. Like the color work was great. Every character felt like they moved properly, if that makes any sense. And it flowed really good, and yeah, it was very stylistic. It didn't try to be anything like spectacular. Like it didn't try to get to Sakuga levels of animation. That was never really the point. It's not that kind of film. It was trying to tell a story, trying to just showcase these characters in this culture. And it did it through beautiful artwork, beautiful animation, color work, but nothing over the top. The voice acting was great. I don't know if there's like an original, like subtitled version of this. I don't know. Um, from what I've gathered, this looks like it was a Canadian production, so maybe not. Maybe it was always in English, but the voice acting was still really damn good. Everyone really did a great job. It just it was really good. um, I really enjoyed that. And just the peaks we got into this culture from the good and the bad. Even seeing so little as the food that they were eating and the way they were eating it. Seeing the entire bit about selling wares on the side of the street and all, and just how everything was. It's like it was fascinating. And as I said in the reaction, by the way, like I've had Middle Eastern food and it can be really damn good. Um, Middle Eastern food, like I really do enjoy it. Like I went to this Middle Eastern restaurant one time with it was definitely with my mom and I think both my sister and brother were there. But basically there was this giant thing of bread and there's this like circular table. There's this giant thing of bread in the middle and then all these fixings inside the bread and you could just take and grab whatever you want. Everyone sat around it. It's like it was really cool. Um, but yeah, it's like I just really like seeing that kind of stuff in in media. Getting to see other cultures around the world and getting to see their food. Like I do love food and not just as, typical fat person I like to eat food. No, I love the culture around food. I love the history around food. All of that's really fascinating. And this movie just really did that well, I think, among other plenty of other things. So yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I mean, I've been talking for like half an hour in these afterthoughts. um, I really did enjoy this. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite film that I've seen in terms of donation rewards on this channel or in terms of just in general, even just in animation. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite film I've seen, but I really, really did enjoy it. It was definitely a great film. Definitely one I will recommend to people going forward in the future. And one that I hope to see the likes of again. So tell me in the comments below what you thought of The Breadwinner. And thank you again to Venom0027 for your donation and you choosing this. Like I had said in the pre-thoughts, I had been interested in checking this out for a while, but just never got around to it. I'm glad that thanks to your choice here, I was able to. I'm really happy to have seen this. I think it was such a worthwhile option, such an amazing just choice that just worked out exceptionally well. um, but yeah, tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you wish to donate in order to get a donation reward, you can donate via my PayPal, which is linked in the description below. Any amount, no matter how small or big or whatever, is acceptable. Any amount will still get you a donation reward. You can donate as many times as you want. You get one reward per donation. So if you let's say you were going to donate $10, you could donate that in, honestly, if you wanted 10 $1 chunks, but that would be a little bit much maybe. But I'm just saying, you could do like two $5 donations with that $10, and that would be two different reactions, two different donation rewards. And you could choose anything for a donation reward. You can have it be a movie, a cartoon, an anime, whatever. Movies tend to be the easier to get to. They end up coming up quicker because if you choose a series, it'll take longer to get to that because I only have 2 slots for shows, and it's just I have to get through them, and it's a lot harder. It takes a lot longer to get through them than it does for a movie. um, but please feel free to donate anything you would desire, anything you would think it would be good to react to, or you would like to see me specifically react to. I would love to see more awesome stuff like this in the future. Thanks to everyone who has donated. I've seen so many great things, and I hope to see more. So again, thank you so much. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.